Hello, everybody. This is Mike from the Hey, Are You Still There podcast. My wife Beth and I would like to invite you to join us each week as we examine life at the intersection of marriage, family, careers, and ministry. Through 28 years of ministry, 26 years of marriage, 23 years of professional careers, and 21 years of being parents to 3 kids, our fun and honest discussions promise to have something for everyone. And now, on to the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hey, Are You Still There podcast. This is Mike.
And Beth.
Happy anniversary, Beth.
Yes, today's our big anniversary.
We are recording on Friday. You guys are listening on Saturday or Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whenever you're going to listen to it.
But we've already celebrated our anniversary when they listen.
That's right. So today is Friday, our anniversary. How many years?
27.
Are you sure about that?
Yes, because you just told me the other day.
Can I tell the story?
Sure.
So 2 years ago, so it had been 2023, Beth and I were in a meeting with some community leaders and for like a little luncheon. And they wanted us to go around the room and introduce ourselves. And so we had to introduce ourselves, tell where we're from, and just tell some fun personal fact about yourself. And so Beth, it got to her first. She said, I'm Beth. I'm with Project Re3. This is my husband, Mike. And next week, we'll be married 20 years.
Bad math.
And then it came to me, the very next person. And I said, my name is Mike. I'm with Project Re3. This is my wife, Beth. And next week, I'll be married 25 years. And no one laughed. They didn't know if it was like a bad joke or what. And I looked at you and you just kind of looked at me like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And I just looked at you and you're like, oh, it is 25 years. So I don't know what I was more offended by. The fact that you up until that point had no idea how long we've been married, or there was 5 years of our marriage life you just wanted to forget.
But in my defense, I think there's something in my brain that just doesn't I think it may go back to that ADHD and time blindness. I've never looked all this up, but I struggle with things like that. Like if people are like, how old's your mom? I have to do the math, or how old or how long ago did something happen? Like I have to think back to life events and then calculate. Like, even if you were like, oh, how many years Salem just had all these reunions. And I was like, what reunion year is this for me? I'm just not good at that kind of stuff. So it's not just you. This is just a me problem.
Yeah, and we followed it up the next year, 1 year later. It's the day before our anniversary. We're having dinner with our only kid that's at home, Josh. And I said, hey, buddy, tomorrow night, your mom and I are going out to dinner, so you're going to have dinner on your own. And he said, what do you go out to dinner for? And you said, it's our anniversary. And then you said, it's a big one too. And I looked at you and I said, really? What big one? And you said, with so much confidence, 25.
Yes.
And I said, are you sure last year wasn't 25? And you were like, oh yeah.
And in case
you forgot to add all you had to do was remember 1 year.
But also, in case people can't tell, obviously we are not good at doing that thing where you're supposed to do paper. No, but neither one of us. Okay, we don't follow that whole thing though. What's the 25? I don't know. I have to look it up. Like, what are you supposed to get for 25 years? Like,
I gave you diamonds.
No, you didn't. Did you?
I don't know.
I don't know.
See?
I don't know. I don't think you did. Let's see. 25 anniversary gifts.
Let's see. Like silver or something. What is it?
This is not listing. Yeah, silver. It looks like silver is mine.
Silver anniversary. There you go. So that was riveting podcast right there as people were listening to Beth Google it.
Well, no, I'm just saying, but if we did that, I might better be able to keep up with it because I might be more likely. Because on your first anniversary, you're supposed to do paper. Your second one, cotton. Who came up with this? Anyway, 20, which I thought it was, but it wasn't, was China, which, because we use our China so much. I know, anymore? I was like, we use paper plates. But anyway, 25th was silver. And look, here's the other thing that's interesting about this list. So they really care early on. First year, second year, first year paper, second year cotton, third year leather, 4th year, fruits and flowers. They keep going all the way up to 20th. And you've got something for every single year. But once you hit 20th, I think they just give up and they're like, either we can't think of any other gifts or, you know, you're not going to last that long anyway, because then they jump to 25th, which is silver. Then it jumps to 30th, which is pearl.
If we learned anything during trivia night the other week was since the average marriage only lasts 21 years, then I guess year 21, you get divorce papers. And then you start all over again. They don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, that's why they were just like, okay, once you've made it 20 years, we're just going to do every 5 years. Because, well, maybe they know too, people like me. They're like, you're not even keeping up with
if you've made it past 21, then you'll probably make it to 25 or 30 or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, all right.
Yeah.
We had a big weekend last weekend. It was Easter weekend. So we had a Good Friday service at our church.
Mm-hmm. It was nice.
It was very nice.
Original. And
then afterwards, you wanted to go out to eat with people, and I did not.
Right.
And so I am an introvert, so I get socially drained. And I knew that weekend was going to be a busy weekend.
With a lot of people.
Because we had the Good Friday service on Friday. Saturday, we had already committed to go to some other folks' house, which we'll get into in a minute, for a cookout and an adult Easter egg hunt.
Which I have to talk about.
Yes, I knew you would want to. Yes, and then you had Sunday, which was Easter. And then, you know, it was just a busy weekend. And so I wanted to conserve my social energy.
Which I've learned is a thing, because we have a small group and we talked about the Enneagram. And one of the members of the Enneagram talked about how he needed
to, we'll call him Mark.
Yeah. So this guy that we'll call Mark is like blowing my mind with some things he says. But at one point before we knew his number, he talked about how he has to conserve his energy, but also calculate. Like he has to, like if you ask him, hey, Mark, will you come to this small group on Wednesday? He has to really think about whether he has enough energy to do that. Well, that blew my mind, because I was like, people stop and think about that? Because I guess I just have unlimited energy, or never think about it, because I'm just always like, yes, I will do it. Or if I say no, it's because I have a conflict, not because I don't have, quote, energy. And then he said sometimes he sits and does nothing, which also blew my mind, because I honestly did not know that was a thing that people did, or that it was humanly possible.
This
so
goes
at
full
50,
circle.
I have learned something.
He sits on the couch and just stares at the wall. This goes full circle back to raw dogging.
Oh, gosh.
Regardless of what Shelley thinks.
Yes, which you can't even talk about it on here, because Shelley said it's bad.
Yeah,
but anyway.
But, you know, that's the Seinfeld putty staring into the back of the airline seat. That's what Mark does. When he runs out of steam, he said he just sits there and recharges.
So I think that now that he's talked about that, now when you talk about this, I'm like, oh, this is something people do. So you were having on Friday to consciously look forward and think, is my battery going to be drained? You know, is this going to further drain it? Like these people, you know, sucking my energy out or whatever.
So I was ready to go home. Yeah. And Jerry, somebody from our church.
We'll call her Jerry.
She texted me. She said, hey, we're going to go eat. And she named a restaurant. She was like, I'm getting a table for all of us. And I was getting ready to type. Actually, I started typing. I think I'm going to pass. Like, I'm tired. Like, I need to, whatever. And then she texted and said, I think Beth really wants to go. So I just deleted all of that.
Because my battery is just recharged with people. Like going with them would just fill up my battery to even better prepare me for the rest of the weekend.
And I had a good time.
Yes.
I had a great time.
You had a fabulous time.
I'm glad I went.
Really glad you went. Yes.
I was glad Jerry invited us, and we got to hang out with her and her family, and our kids went, and you know, it was a good time. I had a really good time, and I had, you know, I don't feel like I was as active as I would have been during the adult egg hunt. Mm-hmm. You know, I was kind of low on energy, so I did not pursue it as heavily as you did. So our friends had us over for a cookout, and they did an adult egg hunt, and there was 4 couples, so there was 8 people there total. Wendy had hid eggs all throughout her backyard. Some kind of easy, but some kind of hard, even with a special egg. And
they were all different. There were 6 different colors. And so what
was 8? Was it 6
was it 8?
It may have been 6.
No. I think you're right. It may have been 8. I just remember she gave us the little, we didn't have baskets, but she gave us part of a little egg carton. No, it was 8, I think. But the deal was you had to get one of each color. So that was interesting because, you can't just run out and just start getting eggs, because then you're going to have all the, no, there were 6. I just looked. You're going to have all the eggs of somebody else. And each color egg had like something special in it. So like the blue egg, I don't remember exactly, but she had really cool stuff like that was symbolic of Easter. So like one of the eggs had like a piece of chalk so that we could write something on a piece of paper that was in her living room. One egg had a rock with like an encouraging word on it, one color, and everybody had a different one, of course. One egg had like a scripture or something on it. One egg had like a little cross. So it was really cool. But the coolest thing was she had barely released us into the yard, and I had 5 out of the 6 eggs. I mean, I was like killing it.
I've never seen it. You would have shoved down old ladies and little kids to get to those eggs.
And there was a really young child there that just was in the yard, and if that child didn't watch out, I would have just taken her out.
You literally had like 4 eggs before I had
5.
1.
I had 5, I think, because I thought I misunderstood you. So I'm out there and I've got my 5 eggs, and I thought you said, I already have them all or something like that. And I was like, what? Because I was going to be so furious because I literally found 5 in like seconds. And it was that 6th one that was like doing me in, And I was just like, this can't be. You can't come in like this and then just like take over and beat me. It's so unfair. But I was so pleased with myself. Now, what I didn't find was the golden egg, unfortunately, but
you won by getting all the different colors first.
And
you came in first.
And no offense to y'all, but I beat all of you by a lot too. It wasn't just a little. I beat you by a lot of time.
Yeah, I don't even know if I finished.
I think I gave you an egg to help you out.
But I don't want to say I didn't care, but I was just kind of like,
no,
I'm tired.
Says the person who can't find eggs. I mean, it does sound like a really good excuse to be like, oh, I was in last place in the egg hunt. But it's because I didn't really care and didn't put forth full effort. But also, don't leave out that we have been playing some pickleball in the driveway with this guy, we'll call him Ross. And I kept commenting, both you and Ross showed up to play pickleball in Hey Dudes. And I was like, what are y'all doing in Hey Dudes? And like, this is not like we're 90-year-olds hitting this. We're on concrete running and trying to get the ball and having to chase it down. So your other problem was you could barely walk.
Oh, my ankles were killing me. So yes. I was socially exhausted from Jerry. Thanks, Jerry. And then I was physically exhausted from Beth. And so I just got in their backyard and I'm like, I don't even know if I can bend over to pick up an egg. So I'm just going to let them have their fun and we'll just see what happens.
But it was so much fun.
It was. And then we had Easter the next day, which was nice. And then we got to play more pickleball.
But one thing that was interesting about our Easter is because like we do sometimes, we didn't fully plan like what would happen with the whole lunch thing after Easter. So then we ended up in one of those like dysfunctional family moments because my parents were in one car and your parents were in one car. And Joshua, who has his learner's permit, was in the car with me. And Maria was in the car with you. And then Jacob and his friend Dakota, who we also invited to have lunch with us, were in a car. But the restaurant that we picked and went to was closed. So then Maria's calling, I'm on the phone with you, and Jacob's calling asking what to do. And then I'm trying to call Maria back and put him on hold. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'll just merge the calls. And then we had that whole thing that happens where it feels like, solving world hunger to pick a restaurant because we're like, where do you want to go? And everybody's like, oh, I don't care, except they do. because then you're like, okay, well, how about Seafood Shack? Maria's like, I just want anything but fish. And then we're like, well, we're going ahead and driving. Joshua and I are to China Palace because we know they're open. And Jacob's like, I'd probably do anything but Chinese. So then somebody's like, well, let's do Mexican. It's like, well, we just had Mexican. So like every food that is thrown out, somebody is adamantly opposed to having it. And in the midst of all these conversations, as tempers are starting to rise a little bit because we're stressed and we're starving, and Dakota's there with Jacob, we're like, has anybody even told the grandparents? And I'm like, I've been on the phone with all of you. And Joshua's trying to drive, and I'm trying to direct him. So then we're able to text the grandparents, who are already in Walkertown. They're already in another city. But finally, we did get food, but it was quite the ordeal to get it. And I guess, if nothing else, I did say something to Dakota, like, hey, did you like getting to witness that entire like insanity that is our family of 5 trying to agree on a place to eat?
And you're right, this happens all the time. And every time I'm like, I don't want to decide where we eat.
Right.
Please decide before church is over, because I had to preach Easter morning.
Yeah.
And it was a big Sunday. I was already socially empty from Friday and Saturday.
Your battery's depleted. Yeah.
And then what happens? As soon as the service is over, Maria comes up. Mom wants to know where we're eating lunch. I about lost my mind.
I love the way they blame it on mom. Mom wants to know. But no, do you know why?
I'm sure you were like, go ask your dad.
Yes, because no, what happens is they come and say, are we eating? Or what are we doing? And I'm like, I don't know. You've got to ask your dad.
Why? I'm the only one that had to work Sunday morning.
Oh, please.
All you had to do was get up and get dressed and get to church, and you couldn't even do that on time.
I did get there on time, but the only reason I was a little late for the breakfast was because I was waiting for Maria to get ready.
You were 20 minutes late to the breakfast.
No, we weren't that late.
Yeah.
Oh, also we had a real bunny, a bunny at our breakfast, an Easter bunny with this little ears.
He tasted so good.
No, we did not eat it anyway, but I just thought about that. But that was really cool too. And the kids had an Easter egg hunt. But anyway, back to all that. But yes, this is the story of our life. There's no meal that we can decide to eat out or that we can fix that everyone in the family is happy with.
Except breakfast.
Yeah, I guess most of the time. But there could even be instances where
bacon, eggs, grits,
and
biscuits.
Yeah. They usually won't complain about that.
Everybody agrees they're fine with that.
Right. But anytime we're trying to make these decisions, it's like insane. And we spend all this time, and you and I will say things like, I don't know, but if we have to decide, we're not going to even eat out because it's just too much pressure.
I did. I said, I'm going home.
Yeah. And then you were frustrated. But the problem was, too, I tried to call some of the restaurants. They didn't answer. So it was a whole thing. But I do wonder if other people go through that or if that's just an us thing or a larger family thing, like when you've got a family of 5. But I will say it was pretty fabulous to have that family of 5. It was nice having Dakota with us. And then it was also nice to have our parents. And so that part was really special because we realized Jacob has an amazing internship this summer. Maria has an amazing thing she's doing at Disney. I guess you talked about Jacob's bird internship. And Maria.
On the podcast you didn't listen to.
Yeah, that one. And then Maria, I mean, she's said on her story, we can say what she's doing, right? At Disney.
Yeah.
So Maria is going back. She did the Disney College Alumni Program. And that is like this thing. And she spent 8 months there. And she worked in Epcot parking. And then she also worked in what they call Auto Plaza, taking the money for parking. Well, she's going back just for the summer. So she'll be there May through August. And she got her assignment. And she was a little disappointed at first. Well, a lot disappointed at first because her assignment was in food services, which was not at all what she wanted to do. But then she found out that she is going to be in the in Naboo, in like the Star Wars area of Hollywood Studios. She'll be working at the restaurant there. So she will get, and that is like her favorite area of any park. She is a diehard Star Wars fan. In fact, she just went to see the Star Wars movie. Which one was it last night?
Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Sith. Yeah, they re-released it.
The worst of the
Oh, but she thinks that she could make Anakin
6
good.
originals.
But she loves Anakin Skywalker. But anyway, she loves Star Wars, so she's super excited about that. But where I was going with this story is Maria will be in Florida and Jacob will be in South Carolina. And even Maria, when we were talking, she was like, well, I even see Jacob before he moves to South Carolina and before I move to Florida. We don't know if they will. And so that's one reason I think even just having one day, because really that's all we had was Sunday with everybody together. Those times are precious because they are few and far between. I mean, we get some time with just maybe you and I and the boys, or you and I and Maria, or Maria and Josh and us, or whatever, but not all 5 of us together. And Maria was thinking about it. She's missed the last 2 Easters because of different things. So she wasn't here for Easter. So anyway, life just changes a lot. And I wasn't even with her for her birthday last year. And that's really hard, I think. Well, not as hard for you. You're looking at me like, is it? But it's really hard for me.
Maria was like, I've missed the last 2 Easters. And I'm like, have you?
Yeah, Mike's like, what? Oh, I thought you were here.
Yeah, I don't know.
But one other fun revelation we had before we talk about anything else, I just think it is fascinating how different our kids' college experiences are, because Maria had spent part of this weekend, a friend from School of the Arts was at our house, and we've talked about this on the podcast before, but if you have a child in the film school at School of the Arts, then you're one of the people that's actually close enough to drive. Your home gets used as a set oftentimes. But her friend was doing something. There was a Wizard of Oz 2, and I loved Wizard of Oz. Watched it every year when it would come on TV and would pretend I was on the Yellow Brick Road, but I never knew there was a part 2. But apparently there are these things in the part 2, these people or something, that have roller skates or wheels.
Wheels for hands and feet. They're called wheelers.
But they're on all 4s, right?
Or something.
Yeah. So Maria's friend came, and Maria had on roller skates on her feet and roller skates on her hands. And she filmed Maria roller skating around. Then they went to Taco Bell, and Maria went to the counter and ordered things and tried to drink a drink with roller skates on her hand. So that's the kinds of things Maria's doing. Her college experience is things like, okay, I'm going to act in this film where I'm doing these things, or design this set, or I'm watching 6 movies and writing papers about them, or just making films. Jacob, on the other hand, blew Maria's mind Sunday night because we played a card game, which we can talk about at some point if we want to. But we were playing that just before he left, and he was like, oh, I've got to get back and stuff a bird. And she was like, what? And then he told her, because he's taking a class on birds and he's a biology major, that one of the things they have to do is there's this entire technique. And he walked us through the entire technique. They have birds in a freezer. Like if a bird dies, they take it there on campus. They put the bird in the freezer. And so there's a very special technique in a way that he cuts the bird and removes the insides and stuffs the bird. And depending on the quality of how he does, they may be displayed for labs and stuff. But anyway, we just all looked at each other and just were like, they could not have 2 more.
Maria's eating tacos with roller skates on her hands for college.
Yes.
And Jacob's taxiderming a bird. In his biology class.
Yes. And so it's just like that part. That's one of the things with just watching your kids grow up, though, that's fun. Just seeing their different interests and the different paths and the different places that it takes them. But it is crazy how different their experiences are turning out to be.
Well, they're different kids.
I know.
And I think that's
and
one
very
of the things,
different colleges.
As parents, I think we've always tried just to encourage our kids to just chase your dreams.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want to do? Let's go do it. And if it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, hey, at least you tried it. Try something else now.
Yeah.
And so our kids have very diverse interest and college experiences and just experiences in general because we've allowed them that freedom.
Yeah.
It's kind of an open world gaming, where they can go anywhere and do anything.
Even when we don't understand it. Like if I had a penny for all the things like taking Josh to Bug Fest where you eat bugs and learn and let them crawl on you, to Jacob with all the different sports and athletic things or outdoorsy things with Jacob, and then to Maria with whether it's film or comic books, being in deep into that world, or professional wrestling, like when she took professional wrestling lessons and was learning to do all those moves and be in character. Yeah, so they've and I guess it's kind of fun for us though, because like you learn about something every time I do it. I mean, like when she did the professional wrestling, I was like, I would have never in a million years known all the technique and everything that goes into that. Just like I've never thought about who's stuffing those birds or whatever that Jacob's doing, or like with Josh, I haven't thought about all the things with the insects or what have you, and lizards. So yeah, we've learned a lot from our kids too.
Yeah. So, you brought up pickleball. We played pickleball 4 out of 5 days. And so we played 2 days in our driveway where we taped off a little court and a little smaller in regulation. And we got a net and we put it up, and we played singles, we played doubles.
The depressing part, though, is that I get worse every time I play, I think.
I don't think so.
Mike also gets into my head. We had that whole discussion. Like you said one thing, and I don't even know how much you were trying to get in my head, but like you get in my head so bad that I had to be like, okay, I have to take a break from this game.
You quit and went inside.
I didn't quit, but I was like, I need to get some space from you and go get some water, not lose my temper.
I don't think I said anything mean.
I don't know. I think you did, but anyway.
And then we had our final lesson.
Yeah.
And then to which there was 2 other ladies there, well into retirement years, and Beth. And so we played, and we had to team up with one another, kind of in a rotation.
And you'd be on a different team each time.
Yes. When I was with those 2 ladies, we only played to 5, right? Because then you would switch. With Lady 1, we won 5-0. Lady 2, we won 5-0. With you, we lost 5-2. How is that possible?
Because you get in my head. I was so nervous that you were going to be angry. And I choked like this when Jacob was on my team.
I lost one game in that whole time, and it was with you.
I know, but it was like I forgot everything that I knew. And this is one of the problems. We've talked about this too. I am such a perfectionist, which is crazy because I'll try anything, but then once I've given it a try and I realize I'm pretty crappy at it, I start to get in my head. So like pickleball, like if you're like, let's just go and truly it's for fun. I mean, I do okay. But the problem is once we've started inviting other people sort of into the game and they're taking it seriously, I mean, and I'm a competitive person. I'm not saying I don't want to take it seriously. But then I get in my own head and I get so stressed about winning. And it's like my body forgets everything that it's supposed to do. Like I forget how to hit the ball. I forget, how to do anything. And so that's the one thing I wish I could turn off in my brain, because if I could literally go, I think one reason I did so great like that first week and everything is I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing. And this is so much fun. But like, by the time you've played a few times, I feel like I'm supposed to be better or be as good. Like you and Ross have played ping pong and tennis. I rarely played ping pong and never really played tennis. And then Jacob is just like, he's our kid that's a natural athlete. I mean, I just feel like
he gets it from his dad.
He picks up stuff and just, is good. And he's played pickleball with his roommates and stuff. And so I don't know, but I was by far the worst. And probably now all the really old people are a lot better than me. And it's very depressing. It's in my head.
Well, and then finally we went, Kernersville has built this really nice outdoor pickleball complex.
Yeah.
And so we finally made it over there. It was just going to be me, you, and Ross.
Yes.
And so I show up about 15 minutes early, and I'm getting out of the car and just kind of whatever, throwing some trash away. And a guy pulls up and says, "Hey, are you looking to play?" And I was like, well, I'm waiting on my wife and my buddy to get here. And he said, well, if you need a fourth, I'd love to play with y'all. And I was like, yeah, that's fine, whatever. So he gets out of the car, and he's retired.
Yeah.
It's an older guy.
He's got grandkids.
Yeah, he's got grandkids, but he was pretty physically fit for a retiree. And so then he's like, well, when are they coming? I was like, well, they'll be here in about 15 minutes. He said, well, let's you and I play one-on-one. So him and I played a game, and then Ross shows up. And then him and Ross played a game, and then you showed up. And then we played doubles with this guy. So we were out there for about an hour and a half playing pickleball. And it was a lot of fun, but it wore me out.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
It was intense. It's fun because Ross is like, does this count as exercise? Yeah, when you're running around.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Wore us out. But it was, so now we're ready. So we're
well, y'all are ready.
Beth
I've got to get out of my head.
Beth and I are ready to take on all challengers.
I don't know about that. I need to get out of my head somehow. I guess I need to go to one of those sports psychologists or something, so that I'll be ready to go to the state championships or whatever. But I've got to work on my internal monologue and get out of my head. Mm-hmm. Or you just have to not say anything. And
I don't think I was saying anything.
Yeah, but you might have looked at me with judgy eyes.
No, I definitely looked at you with judgy eyes.
Yes, you did. And you might imply things or just look, and then you would hit it to me with the spin on it, or you knew that I have trouble if you hit the ball right at my feet. You know that's a weakness. So
don't give away that. If someone may be listening that's going to play you one day, they need to know. They don't need to know that they can hit it at your feet and you're going to whiff.
Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to ask people if they want to play, if they have listened to this podcast, and if they I'm going to refuse to play with them because they're going to know my weakness.
Yeah.
My kryptonite.
You need to find you a partner that you feel comfortable with and just practice with them. And then just show up with them and kick my butt one day.
Because I feel like the problem is everyone else is further advanced than me, because y'all are better. And so
we're not better.
Yes, you are. So it's challenging, or at least in my head, that's my narrative. So, maybe I need to go find a 5-year-old or something and teach them to play and then beg them to just play with me.
That dude's grandson.
Yeah.
He's 11.
I'll be like, hey kid, I challenge you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Good times.
Yeah, good times. Mm-hmm. So some discussions we've been having online. One, I guess we'll just rewind it back. We talked about friendships last week, and we had some people commenting about the friendships and kind of, difficulties they sometimes have or whatnot. And people messaged and said they found it enlightening or whatnot. Mm-hmm. So that was fun.
Yeah.
I think the friendship thing does strike a chord with a lot of people because people do crave, as we said, community and relationships.
Yeah. And loneliness is that thing now that they think is one of the really big things hurting everyone is this not pandemic of loneliness, but just a lot of people are very lonely and craving friends. Yeah. And
I also put up on the Facebook about Yellowjackets that we were watching that. Mm-hmm. And to which I just love. I can't get enough of it. It is so good. We're halfway through season 2, probably, something like that. I have a favorite Yellowjacket, Misty. I love
you pick.
I love
it
old
is
Misty and young Misty.
It is disturbing when you pick favorite characters of shows because if anybody goes to watch this show, you will see that this Misty that he likes so much is crazy.
She's so sweet.
No, she's not.
She does. She just wants friends.
Rocker, but she does awful things to people.
And now she has found her male counterpart. Elijah Wood is now in the show.
But we don't know that he's going to kill people.
We don't know what his deal is, but he's with her now. And I told Beth, I would pay good money just to watch a TV show with Walter and Misty. Yeah. I think they are the best couple. And they're not even a couple, but yet. I don't know if they've become a couple or not, but they're the best I've ever seen on television. I love them. But you're right. I don't know what it is about these characters that sometimes have a little bit of darkness in them.
That you really connect with.
If you've ever watched the TV show Lost, my favorite character was Benjamin Linus.
You, in fact, wanted to name our child Benjamin Linus. I was
begged her to
absolutely
name Joshua
not.
Benjamin Linus Giannopoulos.
And thank goodness we didn't.
We could have called him Benji.
Yeah, but you want
Benji G.
And also, when Breaking Bad was out, you loved Walter White.
I found him a sympathetic character.
I did not. I thought he was disgusting. He would make me so angry, and I just did not like him.
Well,
but
I think you just have bad taste in characters.
No, I think you're just drawn to these like dark, seriously disturbed characters in these shows, and so that's kind of strange.
Well,
but I did say for Yellowjackets, if anybody's thinking about it, and you looked it up, and it was interesting because I told you last night that the only thing I didn't like is I feel like they'd stolen a little bit of the idea about, I thought it was a soccer team, but you said it was rugby, the team that crashed in the Andes Mountains.
1972.
And so I'd read a book about that. I'd also seen a movie about that. But it is kind of like that mixed with Lord of the Flies. That's what it reminds me of, is that book that everybody reads, I guess, in middle school. And it's interesting because that's what I had told you. I felt like it was those, and that's what the people who made the show said they were intending. It's kind of like that plane crash scenario meets Lord of the Flies kind of thing.
And they're nailing it.
What people do as like your own little society falls apart, you know. I guess that's part of what's fascinating about the show, that it has cliffhangers, but I'm also drawn to, I know we've talked about some of the fantasy books, but dystopian future type books, that's a genre I read a lot. And there's something about reading about the collapse of society and trying to picture how would people respond and how would we organize ourselves, and would you come up with a government or system similar to what we already have?
You would be dead in 3 days.
Okay, that is one thing we did discover at Small Group that we talked about. I think I can be delightful in a normal world, but I'm pretty worthless in the event of like a doomsday scenario.
You'd be panicky. You'd be worried about everything.
That is not where I resent.
You'd be the first person we'd eat.
That is not true, because I do feel like I'm good.
One, you've never done any manual labor, so you got.
I did manual labor.
Soft skin,
when I grew up, I had to do manual labor. We're not going to talk.
You're in pretty good shape, so there's not a lot of.
I grew up in the country, and we had to work outside doing things. And then I worked doing different jobs. Beth. No, I'm not. But my point is, and I think I'd be fine in a crisis for a while. The reason I'm worthless, as we talked about, I don't have weapons that I know how to use, so I wouldn't be able to defend anything. I don't have any stockpiled items, to barter with. I haven't kept a ton of dried beans or clean water.
You've got a sunroom full of plants.
Well,
imagine how people will want those plants.
They'll be drawn to they
will, for oxygen.
Listen, I know you're being sarcastic, but the other thing, so I don't have good weaponry or defense skills. I don't have items to barter. I don't have skills
I'm grow anything that's helpful to humanity.
So what we decided is that I would be the entertainer.
I don't think you could keep it light. I think you would be stressed and panicky.
No, you know what? There's this show, and I read the book too. Oh, what was it called? It's about the collapse of society, and I read the book, and I love it. I think it's Station 11. I don't think I'm confusing it with another one, but that's when there had been, yes, that's right. There had been a swine flu and a pandemic, and then a group of actors are in this traveling symphony and they perform Shakespeare and stuff. I'm not saying I would necessarily be performing Shakespeare, but that would be me. I would have nothing else to offer society.
There's only one person in the family taking improv. So I could entertain people.
I know, but I'm just trying to figure out what role, since I'm so drawn to these books and things, what am I going to do? And maybe this will be the next obsession I have to have, is I'm going to have to teach myself to do something that will make me valuable in a collapse of society.
So I come home the other day and I'm like, hey, I'm thinking about maybe we should get some raised flower beds and plant a garden this year. And you were like, what do you know how to grow? You're criticizing me. Show me something you've ever grown that's been productive.
I grew tomatoes last year.
Oh my gosh.
I did.
You got 2 tomatoes off that thing.
And when I was little, I would help my family. They had great gardens.
You didn't do nothing to help.
But I'm just saying, this could be our thing. Maybe we do need to garden and learn how to bring forth our own food from the soil.
At least show me how to make fire.
Yeah.
You do something.
Okay, I'll work on that with the magnifying glass, or do you want me to do the 2 sticks?
I think you got to do 2 sticks.
Okay, I'll do. Okay,
Or chipping away, 2 rocks, making a spark.
I'll try to see if I can do something like that.
You got to do something.
But Josh will be able to help us find all the native mushrooms and things that you can safely
just like
eat.
Misty.
Yeah, well, that is true. But he's not crazy like Misty. But anyway, it was pretty depressing to kind of realize that. That's another reason I have to just hope society doesn't collapse, because I will have zero.
See, I can play the God card, because everybody needs that spiritual leader when the world is falling apart, and I can be that guy.
But do they really know? I think you're kind of like me as the entertainer.
I would be the
knows or
Lottie
cares that they
of
need
the
that.
Yellowjackets. I would be like Lottie. I would have my cult, and I'd be able to.
Your cult.
I would be.
Gosh.
We'd be wearing purple, and I'd be.
No, you could have a different color, because then you're like stealing from the Yellowjackets.
Well, I don't think they're going to sue me if it's a downfall of society.
But you might. What if you need to use some of my houseplants on the back porch? Because I have some very colorful ones, and you may need that for dye for your clothing. For your cult. See, I might be contributing something. I will be the one bringing forth beauty into this world that is sad.
Yeah.
That'll be my contribution.
Well, I put on the Facebook when I posted about the Yellowjackets that I was hesitant to post that I was watching it, because I'm going to tell you, it's
got some stuff.
It's
not for small children or anything.
I mean, it's for mature audiences. It's I wouldn't let our kids watch it.
No.
Even our
adult kids.
I
mean, I can't control what they do on their own, but we wouldn't be sitting and watching
I wouldn't
it
feel
as a
comfortable.
family.
Yeah. Saying all of that, I had hesitated because one time I was at a church, a church I was serving at previously, not the current one, and in the sermon, this is when The Walking Dead was out, and it was probably peak popularity. Yeah. And I was making a reference to just Christians in the church, almost acting like they were the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Just going through life, just whatever.
Like you're a zombie, your brain's not
And I talked about that show, and I made a reference, like, I watched this show called The Walking Dead. I can't help but watch it and think, man, that's how so many church people are, or whatever. Well, the next day, a lady calls me, and she says, can I come talk to you? I was like, yeah. And she says, I want to talk to you about your sermon yesterday. I was like, all right. So again, optimistic Mike, I'm like, this lady got saved. And so she comes in, and I was the one that needed saving. She just ripped me a new one for she was like, I cannot believe you watched that show. I had never watched that show. I went home that night and I watched it, and I was appalled, and I can't believe that you're a pastor and you watched The Walking Dead. And The Walking Dead is like Andy Griffith compared to like Yellowjackets.
Yes.
I mean, let's just face it. And so she left the church. She never came back. She's like, I'm quitting this church. I'm never coming back. You're basically an evil person for watching The Walking Dead. And so since then, I've been very, very guarded over what I promote online. Like if I like a TV show or a movie, because I don't need people just griping to me. But I was kind of like, this is a good TV show. It's over the top. It's for mature audiences. But you know what? I'm digging it. And so I put it out there, and so far I haven't got anything negative. I've gotten
all the negative people have just quietly unfollowed you and started going to another church and donating things to another charity all that.
Thank goodness. And so,
but I think that's the other hard thing.
We've gotten some positives. There's people in our church that have popped up and said, "I love that show too." And so for me, like we'll call her Taryn. Like Taryn was already like, I like Taryn. And she gave us the great
coffee pot.
Bonita, whatever.
Which we haven't purchased yet. But maybe. But it's up there.
It's on the to-do list.
It could have been it may be the 27-year anniversry gift. And
you ain't got me nothing?
No, my presence here with you right now is your gift. But anyway, keep going.
So, but she chimed in and was like, I love the Yellowjackets.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, like this is it. And then Beth has another friend, Casey. And Casey had written on there. She was like, I love Yellowjackets too. So last night.
Because I haven't been on Facebook.
And so she had wrote, this is my favorite Yellowjacket. And so last night Beth and I were watching Yellowjackets. And I was like, yeah, Casey told me this is her favorite. And she's like, wait, when did you talk to Casey? Because Casey's like best former college roommate. And I was like, oh, we talk all the time. Like we text like every day. So we were talking about the show. And Beth was like, what are you talking about? And she was just like, I don't know. Were you mad? Were you jealous? Were you a little
I was having fun.
envious?
Yeah, I was like, why are y'all not talking to me about this? Yes, exactly.
So, but no, she didn't. She just made that one comment. I just took advantage because you had not read the Facebook comments yet. So,
but one thing I will have to just say, I think it's sad. I get like, people say if you choose, if you're doing things in the ministry and things like you want to, not be of the world, all the things people say. But just as we get older, I just remember too, we had a church one time years and years ago. We tried to start a book club because I loved books, and we went through and I was like, we're going to have like a classic that we're going to read, a fiction, a nonfiction. And we even advertised it at Panera. This back in the day, when you put the little piece of paper up on the bulletin board. And one thing that was super cool is we were reading this one book, The Devil in the White City, and another pastor and his wife saw that. They had read the book and they started coming to our book club. And I am still, I don't get to talk to them much. They moved, but they were consistent members of our book club. So I say all that to say, we had this random book club where we discussed all these things, connected with this other pastor and the wife, but we were reading, I was trying to remember which book.
Catcher in the Rye.
Catcher in the Rye.
Because I'm the one that got yelled at about it.
Yes.
Not you.
And then we had a person in the church who was a former school teacher who said that it was like a banned book and how inappropriate. And I honestly was racking my brain like, what's inappropriate in that book as I'm reading it? And I was like, man, I'm glad she doesn't know what Memoirs of a Geisha is about because we read that too. But again, I guess it's just sad. Like, I don't know. That's one of the struggles I have. Like, there's so many things that can be enriching and good about having a life where you're connected to the church and to ministry. But that's a hard thing for me as like a pastor's wife. And I think it's hard for kids. We've worked really hard to try to insulate our kids from that. But like, it's just sad, that people would feel like you're having to go through your life potentially judged by someone because yes, there are things that are crazy, that maybe you definitely shouldn't do, but there's a lot of other things that it's like, I don't really know how it's impacting their life if, I'm reading this book and we're discussing it. It doesn't.
It's because you advertised it in the church bulletin, Beth.
Oh yeah, I forgot that. Big mistake because so then we had to go underground at Panera.
Yeah, and that was their issue. And their issue one was, I can't believe you're reading this book.
Yeah.
But number two, they were like, you can't have a church book club and read secular books.
Right.
That's what the lady was explaining.
Yes. And so pickings would be slim if we were only reading Christian authors. And not that I don't like Christian authors. There are some that are good, but like I am not going to limit, we talk about how many books I read. I'm not going to limit my library of things that I'm going to read to that.
And most Christian fiction is crap.
I know. There's some
just like
that's
Christian
good.
Movies, Christian TV shows, and I know you love The Chosen.
I love The Chosen.
And I haven't watched it, not because it's not good. I can't get past the fact that is Christian entertainment,
but
because it's so
well
it's
done.
all so bad. Like anytime somebody's like, oh, you need to go watch this new Christian movie, it's great. I'll watch the trailer and I'm like, Maria, as a freshman at School of the Arts, could put together a better movie than this.
Because oftentimes the acting's bad. And also, usually it is so saccharine sweet, like over the top, like, kind of almost fake or something. I mean, and that's not to say all of it's like that. I'm just talking like, because being in the church as long as you and I both have, we have seen people talk to us a lot about Christian music, Christian movies, Christian shows, Christian books, and and there are some that I've enjoyed. It's not like, because I remember I even read those two different versions of the books on the end of times. I read like The Left Behind, but then there was another one like The King. I can't remember. I read
The Last Prophet.
Yeah, The Last Prophet. Totally different interpretation. And they were entertaining, but on the whole, a lot of that stuff to me just feels so like frou-frou or so surface level or so
it's
predictable.
Just bad. It's just not good writing. That's why I don't.
But The Chosen is outstanding.
Well,
to the
I mean,
point that like I still.
Beth, listen, I'm going to tell you this, and I mean this.
Oh goodness, okay.
As a reader, I read the book. I don't think I need to see the TV show. I don't think the movie or the TV show can live up to the Bible.
Well, listen, I haven't seen the next few movies, so don't spoil it by giving me like, the spoilers and telling me what happens. But no, but I am saying there are things that are well done, but you're right. A lot of things aren't. And I also just don't know. I don't know. I just don't function in a world, I think, where where I want to live, where I'm so micromanaged and judged by people that I barely know sometimes. That's the other thing. Like some of the people that are doing this judging of us, we barely knew. This is not like a close friend came and said, Mike, I'm really concerned for you because I think this, almost like, because we've had these conversations with our kids, like, we're concerned with you because if you're listening to this type of music all the time, that'll get into your head. Or if you're hanging out with this kind of person, they're more likely to bring you down than you are to bring them up. Like, you have those conversations one-on-one with people you're close to and you care about. This is just people who are just like, they're not saying that because they're concerned about you or concerned about me. They're just concerned, that somebody else may judge them.
Oh, they're the church police.
Yeah, they just don't.
And they have their own laws, and they want to go around and correct everybody, whether you're the pastor, you're a church member, whatever. But you do live in a glass house as a pastor,
right? And I guess some people would say, that and accept it, and that's why you get paid those major big bucks, But yeah, I just don't.
And now I've gotten to the point, I guess, after 29 years of ministry, I don't care.
Yeah.
And that's it's kind of like that. The trigger response from that wound was like, don't put on there that you're watching Yellowjackets.
Yes.
And I was like, why do I care? Like, what? If you don't like the fact I'm watching this mature television show, then just go to another church or just unfriend me. Like, I don't care. Like, I think nobody looks at my life and thinks I'm a cannibal,
And that's what I was going to say. And I think that's the other thing that's the difference. Because, again, if you had a friend like a Ross or a Doug or somebody that came to you and said, we're concerned that you're going to be a cannibal, but or something like that because you're so obsessed with the show, I think your heart would take that a different way and you would care.
Listen, I'm not eating. Ross is too bony. Doug is too old. I need, some fresh meat if I was going to be a cannibal.
Doug is so trendy. We need him in the world to be like styling.
Yeah,
and
he
stuff
needs to show me how to dress.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I just think a lot of that is like, what is the heart that it's coming from and the intent of the person that's supposedly
I think if you're
about it.
It's like we have a friend and she says that she can't listen to rap music or else she's going to cuss like a rapper. She does. She says that. Yes. She was like, I can't because I will start cussing, know?
Yeah.
And she tries not to use, bad language. And
I respect that.
Yeah.
And I would respect that with her and would not be like, let's go listen to a bunch of rap music with cussing.
And there's people who they'll like, we'll recommend a movie or TV show. And I'll say, all right, does it have any sex or nudity? Right. Because they may struggle with that.
Right.
And I respect,
and I'm not
say, yes, it does, or no, it doesn't.
Yes,
but just a blanket, if they don't struggle with it and they're just trying to still make you pure.
Right.
Get off my lawn.
Right.
No, I am an adult. If you see, if you see me behave in a certain way and you think it's because I'm playing violent video games or watching R-rated movies or going to bars, I'm not saying I'm doing those things, but I'm just saying, all right, then say something.
And that's when, if you come, I think people sense and know, even though they may not like the message. We've seen this in friendships and in relationships with kids helping in youth ministry, counseling in the church. People don't like to hear sometimes if you bring them something that you're like, you know what, I think that this is a problem for you and you need to think about it, or I've observed this, or I'm concerned about you. When you bring things to people like that, they may not like it. They may even get angry at first, but I think eventually, I've had people that are mature come back and say, even if I don't agree with what you said, I understand you said it out of love. Even our kids have said that. There have been things I've told them and they will be like, well, I disagree with you, but I know you're doing this because you love me. that is a very different experience for the person, because then you can both still respect one another. You know the heart. There's love, and then there's judgment. And I think what you and I are talking about is that struggle with the people who are just like issuing out judgment. Yeah. That's the hard part. Yeah. So anyway, I didn't mean to go down that path. We went dark on our anniversary.
Well, we've had a dark 27 years. Or 26, or 25, or 20,
30,
whatever.
I mean, whatever.
Somewhere between 21 and 27 is where we're at in Beth's mind.
Do you want to know what I have to do? I always have to go back and I have to do the math. I have to do the year. And then
what year did we get married?
1998. I do know that.
Okay.
Because again, for me, everything also is tied to, like, I know I graduated high school this year. I graduated college this year. I got married this year. I mean, I can remember certain things, but usually I remember the dates by associating it with the events that happened. So,
well, yeah. Happy 27, Beth.
Thanks. Happy one to you. What are we going to do as our, are we going to have a question? Is it going to be like, hey, do you give those paper and leather gifts?
That sounds a little dirty.
No, I meant like.
It's leather and lace, baby.
That was one of them. It was like, I forget what year lace was. But anyway, no, are we going to ask people, like, do you give your gifts by that? Or are we going to ask them if they would contribute anything in a doomsday situation? Like, I mean, I don't know. We've had some interesting conversations.
I haven't done a poll question in a while.
I know you need to.
So, we haven't had a good one. There hasn't been one that's like.
I think it needs to be like a multiple choice, like, we're in a doomsday apocalypse or whatever, a doomsday, like a dystopian future.
I think we're in doomsday right now.
Well, it's pouring rain.
So Beth and I have, the sound on this might be terrible. I'm going to go ahead and say that. So Beth and I went away for our anniversary. We went and rented a little cabin up in the mountains, and we had a great day today going and kind of checking things out around the town where the cabin is, and it has a metal roof, which is cool, but it is now pouring down rain.
Like the floods type rain.
Yes, it's like Noah out here, and it's foggy and cloudy, and yes, it looks cool.
Yeah,
but
looks
it is
really
coming
cool.
down hard,
but
and
it's
it is
very
loud.
Yeah,
and in our packing for our trip, I forgot the microphone.
Yeah,
so we're having to go old school.
I also didn't bring any rain shoes. So we were very unprepared. Right here now. Anyway.
So we got to go back out for dinner.
So right now we just have this on the phone, like, old school phone recording, guys.
So if it sounds bad, we know.
We're sorry.
It'll get better next week.
Yeah.
We'll get the microphone back.
You got to give us some grace because, it's our anniversary and we don't know how many years we've been married.
Yeah, or how many years we have left.
Yes. So, the simple math of it's just perplexing. So, yes.
So, all right. So, we're going to go finish celebrating our anniversary tonight, go out and grab some dinner, try to stay dry.
We may try to think of a really fun poll question.
We'll try to come up with one. Mm-hmm. And other than that, everybody have an awesome week and weekend, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye.